Brodes Media.
So Howie Roseman moves up and ends up landing Jordan Davis, defensive tackle, absolute weapon. This dude's a force, unbelievable, skill set ridiculous. I mean, this guy is going to stuff the run. He's not the biggest sack guy in the world, but what you're doing is you're replacing Fletcher Cox, someone who's been a key piece to the success of the franchise, who's getting older and doesn't have that same burst. You're bringing in a dude who's going to draw double teams consistently. You still have Fletch and you still have Hargrave right now at this very moment, but you're going to work him in and he's eventually going to take over. That bothers some out there because, oh, it's another luxury pick. You already have that position. Why not go after another position out there that you desperately need that is filling a hole? Look, when you get Jordan Davis available for it, you can step over the Ravens. This is definitely nothing to be upset about. He might have some weight discussions that we could talk about. We talk first and second down. Maybe he can continue to grow with some versatility. But this dude's a freak of nature, and there's so much focus that goes on him. Now, I was talking about a tweet earlier that I screenshotted. All right, when you look at this, the Eagles took the second most athletic draft prospect ever who won an award for being the best defender in college football on the national championship team. Nobody likes when he takes TCU. Nobody likes when he takes someone from Washington. Yet here you are taking one of the greatest that you can get in this draft in terms of, whoa, this dude's an athlete that doesn't make sense to the world with how ridiculous he is and the speed at his size and all of it. It is a wild concept on what this gentleman is going to be able to do. That's great, for sure. And then Howie, out of nowhere from the top ropes, finds a way to trade the 18th overall pick and a third-round pick, 101 overall, I believe. Yes, 101. And gets you A.J. Brown. Signs him to an extension, 24-year-old who gets 1,000-yard seasons in an offense that's super run-heavy with Ryan Tannehill and one of the meanest running backs we've seen downhill in Derrick Henry. In that style of offense. To be fair, this team with Jalen Hurts is going to have an identity that's going to maximize a run game too and utilize what the quarterback brings to the table, which is the uniqueness with his legs and Miles Sanders and option plays and things of that nature. But I'm just telling you that this dude is a stud, and you can make the argument. You think of Calvin Ridley and how the chips fell with Howie trying to make the trade to land him. He bets on NFL games. He ends up getting suspended. You look at Christian Kirk and that contract. I mean, you landing A.J. Brown, 24, previous Pro Bowler. Now you sign him to 4 years, $100 million, 57 guaranteed. I don't care about money because you have Howie Roseman. It's nice to have that luxury. You're not accustomed to that if you're in an organization that's not very good at that sort of thing, and Howie Roseman is. And Howie Roseman, day one, obviously we don't know how all of this is going to play out, but we can rate and grade what we saw today, and what he did was A-plus moves. I don't understand how anyone could be upset with this. Jordan Davis is a game changer. He's a game wrecker. And this team was very limited with getting pressure to the quarterback. Once again, I'm fully aware that Jordan Davis is not a dude that's just going to go sack the quarterback. He can do damage to your center and push him back 8,000 feet and stop the run like any lethal talent can in this league at the defensive tackle position, if not even better and at the top tier percentile. But now you have Hassan Reddick, and you're just creating some more life and some more buzz with, all right, you have older play. We complained. There's some guys on this line that just doesn't have it anymore. Fletcher Cox is missing a step. I know you bring Derek Barnett in, but more for a different role. But there were times where you definitely looked at him as someone playing a ton of snaps and demanded a lot out of him, and that has not really played out into fruition as much as we would like to. But you're starting, if you don't see or starting to see this trend of replenishing this older talent that we've been very successful with, now they're hitting a part of their career that's somewhat dipping. You're replenishing those tools with Devontae Smith. Now you get A.J. Brown. You have a Jordan Davis. You bring in a Hassan Reddick, which at this point in his career still has some prime in him for sure. just to look up his age fully, he is 27 years old, so still has a couple more years of burst in him before he starts probably hitting that wall, which is realistically in that 30 range or so is when we get that. I mean, in football, you talk about getting a second contract in its own right is a very difficult task to do. So you're lucky to be 27 and still playing, obviously, but you get my point. When you start seeing the wear and tear for some of these athletes that do last a little bit longer, it could play right towards that 30 area. And you're starting to just replenish and get some players here with some really great tools that can help. You still have 2 first-round draft picks for next season. And this offense right now, while we can have questions about who Jalen Hurts is and what they're all about with the passing game and Nick Sirianni, and I'm right there with you. I have no idea what to expect from Jalen Hurts this year, and that somewhat disappoints me. Now, I expect better than last year, but where at when you maximize Jalen Hurts in his second full year of starting? I don't know, but Miles Sanders, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith, you think A.J. Brown, and you got yourself some really nice complementary pieces to Nick Sirianni and what this offense could be. Remember, last year, sure, you can complain that they didn't win any games against really good teams, and I can't discredit that because you're right. I also think it's important to look at, though, a first-year head coach, a first-year starting quarterback in the first 6 games of the season, not really understanding much about the identity of your team. Well, now you have those 17 games to jump right here into season 2. Different pieces, different additions, so you're not the same exact squad, but there's a big difference from jumping into your first career start together and your first month and a half together compared to now having a little bit more understanding where if you don't start out as poorly or you don't start out as unaware with what your players are and what they are capable of doing, would you have a different start to the season, resulting in confidence early on, resulting in winning some games early on that maybe you didn't win last season to start things off because it was just a totally different environment compared to where you are at this season. There's a reason why we look at Tom Brady, and this is even the best to ever do it, so just keep that in mind. But every year with the Patriots, it seemed after, we saw so much greatness, they're starting off 2-2 in the first month. They didn't have the greatest September. Well, it's really difficult to say a team in September is going to be the same exact team by the time you hit your stride into the postseason. So if it takes the greatest of all time at certain situations to go through that, well, I mean, you imagine it's also realistic for first-time head coaches and first-time quarterbacks to do the same, and we'll see what that means. I mean, that also says that, well, then, Brodes, it's possible that it is not as great as you want it to be early on this season, too, if that's the case. So why be so optimistic that it'll start out strong? I'm not saying it will. I'm just looking at it from a logical standpoint, which is they didn't really have a base at all. So it's really hard when you don't have a base at all. Now there's more of a base. There's more of a guideline. There's more of a blueprint. But at the same time, if the best to ever do it, who had a blueprint for years, sometimes still starts out slow. Yeah. But anyway, that's sort of where I'm at with that. I'm just super excited. I think that these 2 additions that you got and the 2 choices that you added to the Philadelphia Eagles today are ones that are going to be great and a huge help to everybody involved and the culture that is being built with the Eagles. So when everything happened with the Birds, when you had to move on from Carson Wentz, and it seemed like it was a catastrophe internally with drafting Jalen Hurts, and you're just firing Doug Peterson, and you're bringing in Nick Sirianni, and he had the goofy press conferences, and there was so much happening, it felt like it was falling and collapsing right in front of our eyes. There was something that I asked for, and I knew it would take a bit of time, and they were pretty open about it. And I know you can't trust everything that they say because there's a lot of smoke involved, 1,000%. And there's trying to, leak information to get certain storylines out there. But they were pretty open about, we are going to be aggressively retooling and we're going to be restructuring this thing while still staying competitive. And they're doing that right now. They're doing exactly what they described. But what I asked for was, let me see your plan. Let me see it. If you're starting to make moves and it takes a little bit of time to reshape things, but I could get behind the logic and the ideas and the beliefs of what you're selling, well, then I'm here for it. Now we're seeing them stockpile first-round picks, and we're seeing them trade out of first-round picks and trade up with first-round picks. And, just seeing how they were maneuvering through, you could see their plan. They don't fully believe in Jalen Hurts. That's something that they're trying to say publicly that they do, even though we know the name of the game there. Once again, context matters, and when they tell you that they're retooling and reshaping things a certain way, you could believe it based off of their current situation and use the context of where they were to understand that that's true. And then when they say that Jalen Hurts, we believe in him and he's our guy, we can use the context of these draft picks getting pushed back to next year, looking at this year's draft class compared to where the anticipation is for next year's draft class to know that that is a smokescreen. You got to have the bullshit meter up there, and you can tell when you kind of study and analyze things. So with Howie there, I can see the game plan. He's getting some really strong pieces. He's getting some good proven talent involved in as well with A.J. Brown and Hassan Reddick. You're replenishing the farm, if you will, with younger, hungrier talent. And on top of that, you're stockpiling some picks to look for a quarterback down the road if Jalen Hurts doesn't grow and blossom into the quarterback that they need him to. So they're giving themselves a security plan to go and snag that player possibly in next year's draft and make some splashes there. I can get behind it.